Chapter 5. Personalities. Is that crazy enough for ya? Want me to take a shit on the floor? R.P. McMurphy, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. When you walk into the new job, your first order of business should be to identify the dominant psychological makeup of your coworkers and bosses. You need to understand what kind of sick mental stew you've stumbled into in order to operate effectively. The important thing is not to get bogged down by details. Don't get tripped up by the complexities of people. Stay above it and keep it simple. This chapter will show you how to break people down into clearly recognizable types and how to deal with them. Because constant personality assessment can be exhausting, it's important to preserve your mental energy by quickly discerning who you need to pay attention to and who you can safely ignore. First, consider proximity. People you interact with often are going to form an opinion about you, which they will share freely, so those in close proximity should be studied carefully. Do your best to minimize being a cause for gossip. Second, identify the person as a target, obstacle, or furniture. Everyone in the office is one of these. Targets are those you want to impress, pay attention. Obstacles are those who are actively in your way. Pay attention. Furniture is everyone else, pay less attention. Every person has a core operational style, which dictates how a person acts and reacts based on their deep-seated and often unconscious idea of themselves, or their psychological type. Supporting other people's ideas about themselves will ease tension. The opposite is also true and can be quite an effective weapon. This will help you navigate towards success with your true nature undetected. There is much truth to the statement. Considered an indicator of high Machiavellianism, the best way to handle people is to tell them what they want to hear. 1. There are countless ways to define psychological types, usually highlighting the central preoccupation at the core of the person you are trying to understand. This is the nugget, the subconscious focus of everything they do, the one thing most important to their identity. Often it will be something they're trying to hide, so look closely. Everyone will present a mixture of the following traits. For example, someone can be anxious and a slob, but try to pinpoint the weakness that worries them most and concentrate on that. Because there are so many types, I've listed the technical term in capitals and hopefully a more evocative nickname in parentheses below.
Attachment styles. John Bowlby's pioneering research into early social development led to what's now known as attachment theory, or how your parents interacted with you as a child determines the way you will interact with others as adults. Attachment theory categorizes people based on the social distance or closeness they seek, the level of validation they need, and their general comfort level with other people. It's a convenient and powerful way to break down your peers and understand the best way to approach them regardless of subject, even bad news. Anxious attachment validates. This is the guy who always wears quirky shirts, hoping to elicit a cooing approval from the receptionist. He's the guy who races up to your desk, twitching and sweaty, if you don't respond to his urgent email within 10 minutes. They are always urgent emails. A personality nightmare, these people are best avoided. But since they represent about 20% of the population, you'll get stuck working with them. It's best to make them happy with tasks that are clearly defined, and have minimal and frightening gray areas, where abstract decisions need to be made. You will hear about each one in excruciating detail. Give them tasks that are likely to have frequent, concrete, and positive outcomes. For example, hand them a messy stack of folders. Tell them to neaten the papers up and arrange the folders in alphabetical order. Not a lot of questions there. This activity will keep the validatee busy for a long time. The result will be easy to observe quickly, and the resulting neatness will make them feel satisfaction and positive reinforcement. If you get desperate, tell them to go pick up all the cigarette butts in the smoking yard, and make it seem important. Normal attachment, even Steven. This is the coworker who gives you room when you're busy and nailing it. but speaks his mind and is open to different ideas. He's easy to work with, but difficult to control. Avoidant hiders. They don't want your help and don't want you to ask for their help either. Self-sufficient at best, or repressed and distant, you can't rely on them, but neither will they drag you down. It's best to leave them be, with a juicy, complex task. Just know that whatever it is you think they're thinking, that's not what they're thinking. But you won't know that until it's too late.
Motivational styles. Torrey Higgins's theory of regulatory focus divides people's motivations into two basic camps based on what feels right or fits their natural sense of self. Promotion focus climbers. These people tend to be young, optimistic, and motivated by the potential for gain. This is the gal who says, "We got this," and means it. Let her run as long as her path to success doesn't involve stepping on your neck. Prevention focus seatbelts. Generally older, these types may seem either boring or scared, but don't be quick to judge or discount them. Motivated to avoid risk, they hate to lose. Warren Buffett, Investment Yoda, says, "Rule number 1, never lose money." Many successful entrepreneurs are highly risk-averse. Prevention-focused people are terrified of loss and relentlessly defend against it, always clipping coupons and hoarding pennies. This may seem to be cheap and pointless, but when you take into account they apply this tight-fistedness to every single thing they do, it adds up over time. These are good people to use as fact-checkers and accountants. They make fewer mistakes than most people and can be useful in monitoring your more elaborate ventures. Just be sure not to make them feel they're going out on a limb for any reason. Please note that motivational styles should not be confused with the carrot versus the stick, which refers to methods used to try to get a jackass to shoulder the plow. Beating a jackass with the stick works okay, but makes him slow and hateful. If the carrot works as a reward, you will have a more motivated beast of burden. If you are working with non-literal jackasses, discovering the appropriate carrot which constitutes a meaningful and motivating reward can be time-consuming and difficult. For this reason, it's useful to know research shows that if you demean people most of the time, but throw in some hard-won praise once in a while, perversely, people will respect you for it, and work as hard as they would for a fully positive reward. Some call this judicious praise. It is devastatingly effective. If you have children and want to cripple them with anxiety, practice this method on them.
The power of subversion. One effective way to thwart those around you is to push them to do the opposite of what is comfortable and preferable to them. Kuzushi means unbalancing in martial arts and is considered the first step in taking down an opponent. Keep them off balance as often as you can manage without implicating yourself as the aggressor. Someone off balance is going to be bewildered, flustered, and defensive. Therefore, not likely to attack. An effective way to undermine someone is to use the opposite of their understanding of a goal. To a climber suggesting a smart but risky trade, you could counter, "Well, investing a quarter of that amount could be a positive way to minimize our exposure to risk across the board." In this way, you are quickly reclassifying his proposal for an inspired but speculative growth potential idea into a defensive bid designed to round out your basket of funds. This will take the wind out of his sails. Going against a person's motivational style is a great way to shoot them down while appearing helpful. Remember, the easiest, smoothest way to advance is to figure out how to keep everyone else on their heels. Then, gently, soulfully remind them the worst is yet to come. Because it is. Reverse psychology. If given the choice between two matched items X and Y and told, "Don't pick X," studies show 76.5% of people will willfully choose X, just because they were told not to. One postulated reason is that to avoid greater future regret, individuals exhibit reactive behavior rather than compliance. Meaning people feel shittier if they're wrong after doing what they were told to than they feel if they are wrong after they resisted. Weird but true. Remember this when you're trying to get a stubborn coworker to do what you want. Whatever you do, Jimmy, do not try to get that loan from Mr. Bean at Counteroffer Bank. He's a mean bastard and will never give it to you. All the while, of course, Mr. Bean is giving you a cut of his commission.
Worldview.
For those focused primarily on the universal purpose of life, Plato's breakdown of types can be quite useful. Philosophers, wise guys. Most interested in the meaning of things, they worry about truth and the purpose of our so-called reality. They are generally difficult to find in an office, as they would rather be walking naked up a mountain, chewing leaves. This is the dude with the ponytail who reads during lunch and will never give you a straight answer about anything. Wise guys are pretentious, difficult to fool, and motivated by neither the carrot nor the stick. Luckily, they are also relatively uninterested in the social world, have a terrible sense of fashion, and are generally underpaid and considered unfit for promotion. They are good at solving large, knotty problems, and can be used effectively to deal with intractable complications most people avoid. So if you can find one, throw them your most confusing shit and give them room to roam. They will neither disappoint nor upstage you. Soldiers, gunners. Motivated by honor and duty, these rare people are difficult to coerce or bribe, but are incredibly valuable in rallying the troops, creating social solidarity and defending the citadel. If you can win one over, they will stand by you when others doubt and abandon you. They're worthy allies and fight for morally upright ideals, but they can often get prickly and upset when you don't live up to your obligations. Do not lie to a gunner, and do not engage one, unless you are planning to execute what you represent as your intention. An angry gunner who doubts your intentions is a nightmare. On the other hand, one who buys into your shit is a better ally than you deserve. Lovers of grain, slobs. Everyone else. These people are your bread and butter. They want shit. Stupid shit like a 2% raise or a donut. Some part of them believes that if they can someday drive a Beamer, they'll be able to cheat death. They actually care about what the Joneses are doing. Unfortunately, they are most people. But their hunger is the kind most easily fed, and feeding them puts them in your hands.
Helping types. If you see a man approach you with the obvious intent of doing you good, you should run for your life. Henry David Thoreau laid out by Adam Grant, Ph.D., these types are primarily concerned with the balance of effort put into a given project compared to the benefits received. Grant feels the most effective people over the long run are disagreeable givers, but also wants to make sure you understand that being a giver is not the same thing as being nice. Nice guys and gals really do finish last. Categorizing people in this way is most helpful when assessing underlings and potential hires. Givers, bounteous. People who are willing to give without expecting an equivalent return. Currently, only 8% of people rate themselves as givers in the workplace. They earn 14% less money, have twice the risk of becoming victims of crimes, and are judged as 22% less powerful and dominant. No surprise there, but before you discount them as anything but a doormat, Adam also found top salesmen who were givers averaged 50% more annual revenue than the takers and matchers. He claims that relentless givers and helpers dominate both the bottom and the top of the success ladder. Done properly, giving can create reciprocity, the desire to return the favor. But you won't fall for that. For you, the interesting thing about the bounteous is that once they've done something to help you, the more likely they are to do it again. They have already made a judgment about you as someone worthy to help, so they'll bend over backward to prove that their initial judgment was right. While the bottom group of givers are useless but easily worked, the top group is quite formidable. People are loyal to them. The best way to win a powerful giver over is to ask for help. Don't be squeamish. Successful people ask for help all the time. Asking for help from a giver is the simplest way to get them to do what you want. Tip: if you're ever in a position where giving a literal gift seems to be the best option, don't stress. You don't have to give something expensive. Studies show that giving extravagant gifts can quickly represent conflict of interest in the minds of the recipient and the law, but gifts of negligible value can influence the behavior of the recipient in ways the recipient does not always realize. Remember trading stickers in elementary school? Same idea, except the stickers were probably more valuable. The point is, you can influence a surgeon with a ballpoint pen or a coffee mug. Takers, gimme. These are the people angling for your office, the ones always looking out for themselves. They can be quite obvious about it to those below them, but are good at hiding it from their bosses or those in a position to help them. The phrase kiss up, kick down is what they chant in the mirror every morning while plucking their nose hairs. When not kissing ass, they're usually obnoxious, have expensive haircuts, and need to get in the last word about even the most stupid things like which freeze-dried instant coffee brand is the least disgusting. Life is easier when you can avoid takers, but they're quite common. A taker kicking you is irritating, but easy to read. A taker kissing you, however, is trickier to recognize because they can be quite clever and deceitful. It's important to get a fix on them early because once a gimme gets a taste, that sweet kiss will quickly knock you out. Matchers, time is money. These people are always keeping score. They remember when you took the last banana. They think of themselves as fair but are also kind of petty. On the upside, they are predictable.
What to do when you meet another you? Eventually, you will run into another sociopath, snake in the grass. This is a grave problem, and if you do need to take one head on, refer to chapter 13. Otherwise, do your best to not let him see you. Keep your interactions short and don't show any signs of weakness. If possible, have nothing to do with him. You want to stay the fuck away from people like you. Do not engage, just smile and walk away. If you're going to ignore this good advice, one fun thing to do with another sociopath is to get other people to recognize him for what he is. This will minimize his power. But do not make him your enemy. Be sly. You do not want him looking at you. Bribe takers. These people are usually slobs who lurk around the break room hoping for treats. Most are useless and you shouldn't spend much mental energy on them. On the other hand, the bribes they require are cheap. Their loyalty is no match for a gunner's, which makes them more like the one-night stand variety of office allies. Somewhat useful to have in your back pocket, they can always buy you some time, but do not depend on them. Hugs. A giver with low self-esteem. The fat girl. Don't lie and don't pretend to be shocked because I just said that. We all know her and have used her generosity more than once. At first glance, this person is a gift. They want to do things for you. They derive satisfaction from taking care of you because their personal life is a gaping void. This is all well and good when things are well and good. These people will make your life easier. But they also hate to deliver bad news and have a difficult time with failure, so when the road gets rough, they bullshit you and should not be trusted. They are often ingratiating and hold secret grudges. Do not give in to the temptation to surround yourself with them. The momentary ease and satisfaction they provide can later doom you with inept niceties. Donuts. Chocolates, cookies, flowers. These people are really into meaningless corporate holidays like Valentine's Day and can be bought off with a free lunch. Benji boys. Give them a raise. Or a sick day. Or a gift card to Applebee's. Always looking for money, they are smarter than the donuts, but not by much. Alcoholics. These sad sacks are a little more expensive to co-opt, as liquor is more expensive than a donut. But they are also usually open to your more shady or R-rated pursuits, especially after a few picklebacks at happy hour. A functional alcoholic is not useless and can be kind of fun. Just don't tell him any secrets. Back channelers. A subpar version of the validatee, this person will take your bribe but then talk viciously behind your back in order to make herself feel less like the piece of shit she is. She's the woman who undermines you in a meeting after agreeing with you all week. She cannot be trusted. Unfortunately, back channeling is a trait more commonly associated with females and brings to mind weakness, poison rings, and spells. She will cause you nothing but trouble. If the first person you want to avoid in the office is the snake in the grass, the back channeler is the second, and she is far more common. Of course, a person is more complicated than any one of these reductive analyses, and can often reflect a kaleidoscope of different traits at the same time. But don't be dazzled. Look closer. You're not just pinning names on their behavioral flourishes, like some drunk psychic, you are looking for an injury. through all the distracting light and noise, a person always hovers most closely to their deepest pet psychic wound, shielding it. This is the weakness in their story they tell to themselves. This is their central preoccupation, where they really feel fucked up. Find this place. Then, use your preternatural sociopathic coolness to pinpoint the character style the person employs to protect this wound. This is the personality style that matters, the one that protects the wound itself. If you can cater to this character style, the person will be putty in your hands. An apparent matcher who holds dear the anger that his father drank away any inheritance he might have received should be treated as a true matcher. An apparent matcher who plays tough at the office as a means to keep everyone at arm's length because he doesn't trust anyone, should be treated as avoidant. Etc. You're clever, you'll get the hang of it. When in doubt, seek scars, wounds, and injuries.